You got to be here with that. I don't care what anybody says. You got to be here, and you got to be here with this stuff.
All right, let's get started then. Can you walk us through like your impetus for starting boxing?
Well, I've always been a boxing fan. I've always been a Manny Pacquiao fan, right? And to me, boxing is just so beautiful. Like just the science behind it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first started watching it, the semantics and the technique and everything behind it, I never understood. Like you watch it as a fan, but you don't really understand why they move the way that they move. And now I'm learning that as I go along, and I'm seeing the absolute beauty behind it. And that is honestly the reason why I chose the sport.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about your story. I know that you getting into boxing was part of like coming out of a bad spot in your life.
Right.
Before that happened, like, did you always have like a strong personality? Like, what was that like?
No, believe it or not, I was actually very, very timid, very, very quiet. Coming here from the Philippines, it was like a culture shock, right? It was very different for me. So just the way people moved, people acted, and it was hard for me to really adapt. So in the beginning, I was very, very shy and quiet. I was never this outspoken. I was never this strong. I was never this goal driven. This is somebody that I keep saying if I would have met myself years ago, I would be totally terrified of who I am now. I think that's the more simplistic way to put about it. The sport made me become stronger mentally and physically.
So do you see like a lot of transformation then? Like you're basically
Yes.
like a therapist for.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I was just having this conversation with my mentor this morning. He goes, "There's a difference between being a trainer and between being a coach." Because I feel like I'm a life coach sometimes, because
Mm.
I get phone calls not only about training, but about people who, "Oh, Coach Kammmm, this is happening in my life right now. What do I do?" And I'm just like, as a person who builds relationships with her clientele, I do harbor a lot of the things that they've got going on top of my own. A lot of women who want to take a boxing, but their confidence level behind it is not there. But as soon as it comes, it's like they get better and they feel like they can do anything. The way that they punch gets harder. It just plays such a big part and a role in your life. I mean, obviously, boxing is one of the hardest sports to train for, right? The conditioning, the strength that you have to have behind it. Again, the technique and the mental aspect of it. It changes you for the better as a person. It teaches you everything that you didn't think that it would, like time management. It teaches you how to prioritize yourself. Believe it or not, it teaches you a lot of patience, because boxing is not something you can learn overnight. It's something that you have to work on for years. Well, that's with any sport. But in boxing, it's something that you have to work on for years. And just like anything, the more you work at it, the better it is.
So do you experience like a gender disparity between like training men and training women? Like are there like really inherent differences that women would have to overcome in that sense? Like, because I know, for example, that you started boxing um, initially for self-defense reasons, right? I guess like how do you reconcile that, like that strength disparity? Or is it more like a mentality type of thing?
I think, well, no, I mean, whether I want to admit it or not, men's strength is very different from women's. But it's sometimes it's not even about that. It's about how hard you work. Because then there's strength doesn't win all fights.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? It's how you think again, and how you move and how you maneuver yourself. So um I don't I've never really been asked that question. I think I treat everybody the same. Whether
Yeah.
you're a man, a woman, or a 6-year-old little girl or a 5-year-old boy, if you're training with me, I'm gonna train you like an adult, and I'm gonna train you like you're going to fight every single day of your life. That's how I do it. So I don't really see difference when it comes to that.
So I have certain thoughts or reflections about like what you said about how like strength isn't the totality of the battle.
Hmm,
Could
hmm.
you expand on that a little bit for like folks who or women who may not have a training background?
Well, here's the thing, and we can dive deep into something that happened to me when I was in a relationship that was very abusive. So the situation had happened, and I had tried to hit him, right? Of
Mm,
course, when you try to hit somebody, you use your strength, you use force, or, however the case may be. And when I hit him, it didn't do anything but make him even more mad.
yeah.
And then he hit me back, and I got very, very hurt. That's not using my brain. That battle could have been won differently if I would have thought to do other things. Um, that's what I mean by strength and aggression doesn't necessarily win all battles, because it didn't do anything but get me into a worse situation. I'm like, I don't really like speaking on things that I used to go through, but it does help me cope with and deal with, you know, um, how I train and how I think now. So it gives me a sense of need to let women know that they can overcome anything, uh, no matter how hard a situation is. And I never used to talk about that when I would train people, because I used to be a fitness trainer, like way, way back in the day. Like but now when I train in boxing, I utilize that, and I let, maybe not just women, but little girls and kids and even my fighters. It makes me let them know you can get through anything, any hard situation. You can get through it, or you don't even need to be in it to begin with. Again, the mental aspect of it was I didn't think that I deserved better. I didn't think that I could do better, and I was taking all the, I guess, physical and mental abuse from it, and it did nothing but break me down more as a person. If I would have had the confidence and the mindset that this sport has brought me, I I know 9 times out of 10 I wouldn't have been there in that situation long enough to experience 70% of the pain that that relationship has caused me,
Mm,
if my mindset were in the right place. I'm very adamant when I train my girls and I train, the women. I'm very adamant about saying, remember, you're here to better yourself here and out there. This is supposed to elevate you mentally, and it's supposed to elevate you physically. Um, I actually just had a lady who I've trained her. She's been with me for how long now? I think like a year and a few months. She's been with me. And she goes, Cam, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have left my husband. And I was shocked because I didn't even know she was having marital problems. But I kind of figured something was going on with her, because she'd come to class one day, she'd be really happy, and one day she'd be really sad. And I'd be like, what is wrong with her? And I've tried talking to her a few times. Like, I'd be like, hey, are you all right? Like, do you need to talk to me? And she'd be like, no, 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 I'm okay. And then one day she just came out and she told me that. And I was like, oh, well, good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Uh, and another girl, she texted me. She said, Coach Kammmm, I don't know what it is, but something about you and what you do for us, you made me go ask for what is it called? Not a raise, but a promotion. She goes, you made me go ask for a promotion and I got it. And I said, what? So, little things like that. Um, I feel are so amazing to hear just from a sport alone, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me sometimes, but it's so gratifying too. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for going there. Like, I know that some of that was like probably hard to talk about. So I appreciate that
Yeah,
you went there a little bit.
no
Um,
worries.
like, even though like I train stuff differently, or I train, for a different context, I think that like for the little person, movement is like super important. And one of the things that you said in one of your videos about like you can't play boxing. I don't know if that's like a common saying or something, but I was like, yeah, like that makes a lot of sense actually.
You can't play boxing, you can't play MMA, you can't play karate, you can't play these things. Like these things are not to be played with. Like I get it, people injure themselves in different sports. Football, basketball, whatever the case is. But one thing that people don't understand is the difference with combat sports and regular sports is in regular sports, your idea is to score, correct?
Mhm.
It's to score in basketball, to score the ball, to get the most points. In football, you got to get the ball to the end zone. You got to kick it into the field goal. Whatever the case is. Golf, you got to get the ball in the hole. You know what I mean? Tennis, you got to be able to hit the ball on that little square. In combat sports, it is your job to do what? It is your job to take the other person down.
Yeah.
That is part of your job. It's not the same. It is not the same.
Yeah.
I do not care what anybody says because look, you got to be conditioned. And I've trained all types of athletes, all types. I've had professional soccer players to professional football players to college. I was just training a UCLA basketball player right now. He told me, he said, Cam, this has got to be the hardest conditioning workout I've ever done in my life. And then I said to him, imagine going in a ring, in an octagon, wherever, and taking blows and keeping yourself motivated while giving blows back. That has got to be, you can't compete with that. Like that's like just the mental aspect of it alone is like, what is that one saying? It's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep going, right?
Mhm.
That's how it is in this sport. You got to be here with that. I don't care what anybody says. You got to be here and you got to be here with this stuff. You can't play
Yeah.
this stuff at all. On a serious note, real quick, people actually die in these things. You know what I mean? They really get hurt. So you have to think like what you're gonna do. This is. Let me tell you what my coach told me when I first started. He said, "Cam, the minute you get in that ring and you get hit in the face or in the rib or in the gut, wherever, that is when you're gonna know. And it's got to be a good hit too. It can't just be like a love tap. That's when you're gonna know, right? That's when you're gonna know if this sport is for you or not. That's when you're gonna know.
Ooh.
So the idea is to hit and not get hit. But in reality, you got to know what it feels like to get hit in there. You have to know because if you don't know, then you're in for a rude awakening. You are in for a rude awakening because there's some people who have not been hit. Ryan Garcia, his first I'm going to go there. His first, let me just say his first 3 fights. He didn't get hit because he knocked everybody out in the first 20 seconds, correct? This last fight that he had, the dude actually boxed him. Ryan got hit in the face, he got hit in the ribs. I promise you, the look on his face when he got hit, It was like, oh, that's what that feels like? Yeah, welcome to boxing. Every boxing coach, every boxing fan was like, welcome to boxing, Ryan Garcia. It's nice to meet you. Welcome home. You gotta know. You gotta know what that feels like. Or you're not gonna survive in this sport. You gotta know. Plus you gotta build a chin and you gotta strengthen it up there. You got
So some people have said like, passion can overcome like lack of skill.
I get it. So I have a scenario. I had a guy, I'm not gonna, obviously say his name, and his heart is so passionate about this sport. And he's like, yeah, I got it. Put me in there. And I'm like, hold on. You've only been training with me for 2 months. And I'm very smart and I'm very logical when it comes to putting people in that ring. Um, I don't do it unless I see that you're fit for it. But anyways, so he goes, no, just put me in there, coach. Just put me in there. Like, I got it. I got it. I got it. I'm like, all right. Well, he's been with me 2 months. He knows his one, two, threes. He knows how to block. He knows how to catch. Whatever. Okay, get in there. And then I go, I'm going to put you with somebody with the same experience as you. And he goes, no, I can take anybody. So at that point, now I feel like I have to teach a lesson. So I grab one of my kids. I go, hey, listen to me. But my kid is very experienced, but he weighs less than the other guy. So I said, hey, listen to me. Touch him up, okay? Just touch him up. And my kid goes, sure, coach, got you. So they get ready, they get in there. And that guy's loading up on his punches, loading up. Rule number one, do not load up. We see everything. Then my kid he's dodging, he's weaving everything, and he's going in, da da da, he's throwing combinations, he's pulling out, resetting. He's going back in, da da da, throwing combinations, pulling out. And the other guy's getting frustrated because he keeps getting touched by my 15-year-old. And he's a grown man. And he's getting frustrated. And he loads up on a right hand and he goes, whop, and he misses completely because my kid moves and he pivots out of the way. His right hand overextends and his elbow locks in. He got angry and he threw an angry punch. So I tell him, I'm riding with my other coach out there, and then he's in the hospital bed. Obviously I talked to him and I said, I know this isn't the right time for me to talk to you because you got doctors all over the place, but I have to talk to you. And he goes, I know. And I go, you see where anger gets you? You didn't think. And then I was just like, this is the difference between me knowing that you're not ready and me knowing who's ready. My boys know when to go in and my boys know when to come out. My boys know when to think and my boys know when to move. And my boys also know how to have fun. At the end of the day, you got to have fun doing this stuff too, right? Can't be too serious, like, because then you'll end up like that. And he'll apologize. And so, yeah, I think like you, again, mentally, you have to be okay to do this sport. You can't want to kill everybody.
Yeah.
You have to think that way, but you can't overdo it because then you'll lose all technique. To me, when people get angry, the technique goes out the window. Because when people get angry, it overclouds their judgment. There it is. That's exactly what it does. It overclouds the way that they think and how I'm all about mental. And I think it's because I've been through a lot, but a lot of people act off of impulse too. You can't do that in this game. You got to think and you got to be 2 steps ahead of the other person. So yeah, I think that plays a big part as well.
Man, I love that. Thank you so much.
Of
That's
course.
some good advice. Um, have you encountered anyone who you wouldn't train?
Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to cuss? Like I had golly, he was an asshole. Like I would tell him to do something and he'd be like, why? This is better. And I'd be like, I swear you pay me to tell you what to do. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I can't do that. I can't do that. Well, then go. You can leave. You can leave or you can stay and we can duke it out. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to give up on you. And I've had some doozies. Girl, I had some doozies of people. I've had people come up to me and tell me they know more than me, but they just paid me to train them. I'm confused. At that point, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what? So but no, there's nobody that I would not train at all. I will train everyone. Everyone. If I can make you a better person, please come see me.
What is your overarching goal and stuff like that? Because I remember I've seen in several interviews now that you said that you're here to change the game, and what does that mean for you?
Okay. So check me out. The way and thank you for asking because people are like, "Oh, she wants to change the game." Cool. But they don't really know what I mean, right? So what I mean by changing the game is number 1, nobody expects a woman to coach in boxing. Boxing is like such a male, machismo, chauvinistic, like her. No, you're gonna know who I am. I'm gonna have world champions. I'm gonna
Amen.
have national champions. And my hair is long and my nails are done and I smell good and I'm small, but you're going to know who I am. That's what I mean by changing the game. So when you talk about great coaches like Cuz D'Amato and oh my God, Freddie Roach, when you talk about these coaches, Ann Wolf, you talk about these coaches, my name is going to be in there with that conversation.
Amen. Blessings.